When I had to cut out gluten over a decade ago, one of the foods I missed most were flatbreads, but not anymore. These gluten-free vegan flatbreads are a total game changer. Only 6 ingredients, super easy to make, and I can't wait to show you how it's done. Hi there, I'm Nikki Sizemore. Welcome to my kitchen. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited about this recipe because, to be honest, a lot of gluten-free flatbreads out there are very tough and flavorless. But not these. These are tender, they have a great flavor, and there's no yeast. They're so easy to make, and they're naturally vegan. Serve them alongside curries or soups or dal, like a gluten-free naan bread, or you can use them for dips or even make flatbread pizzas out of them. All right, let's get started. This flatbread dough is made with a mix of almond flour and gluten-free flour. The almond flour gives it a super tender texture, and the gluten-free flour gives it its structure. And I'll link to the gluten-free flour that I prefer in the notes below. So you wanna start with 1 cup of almond flour, which is 110 grams. As always, if you have a kitchen scale, now is the time to use it. So much more accurate. And we need 1 cup of gluten-free 1-to-1 flour. It's 148 grams. Then we need some fine sea salt and 2 teaspoons of baking powder. There's no yeast in these flatbreads. They don't get super fluffy. They're meant to be more like a naan, but the baking powder does give them a little bit of lift and a little bit of lightness. Whisk that together. Since we're working with almond flour, I'm gonna ask you to get your hands dirty and just get in there and break up any clumps. Sometimes packaged almond flour is really clumpy. This one is actually pretty good. All right, now for the wet ingredients, all you need is 1 cup of full fat coconut milk. It's important that you get full fat because that's gonna help with the texture of these flatbreads. And in the can, sometimes it separates, so just stir it up really well. And then we need a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, and that's also going to lighten up the texture of the flatbreads. So we're gonna pour that over. Oh, this was so easy. What I love about the coconut milk as well is that it very subtly influences the flavor. It gives the flatbreads this very subtle coconut sweetness that is so good. Start with a whisk and then move to a spatula. All right, that's it. The dough is done. So now I'm gonna grab a piece of parchment paper and just a little bit of flour. You're not gonna need much, just to prevent it from sticking. We'll transfer that out onto the parchment, and then we'll just pat it into a nice little ball. I love the feel of this dough. So it should feel a little bit tacky, but it shouldn't really be sticking to your fingers. I know I'm saying this and it's totally stuck to my fingers, but that's because I just scraped out the bottom of the bowl. But it should feel nice and soft. I love working with dough. This dough makes 4 large flatbreads. So you're gonna cut it into 4 pieces, form each one into a little ball. That'll make it easier to roll out. All we're gonna do is put these in the fridge while we preheat our cast iron skillet. That's gonna just kind of settle in the flour, make them easier to roll, and by rolling them out when they're colder, they also don't break as easily. Throw this in the fridge, and then I'll grab my skillet and we'll start cooking. So I have a 12-inch cast iron skillet preheating on the stove, and you wanna work with 1 piece of dough at a time and just keep the other pieces in the fridge. It's gonna make it easier to work with. Flour the parchment and flour the top of the dough, and then we're going to roll it out. I love this little mini rolling pin, which is actually my daughter's. Rolling it between the parchment paper is gonna prevent it from sticking, and you're aiming for an 1/8 inch thick oval. I like the shape of a traditional naan bread. That should do it. All right, let's take this back to the stove. Once your pan is preheated over medium heat, spray it with cooking spray, or you can rub it with oil. This just makes it really easy. And then we're gonna take the bread and without hesitation, flip it right into the skillet. And then peel off that parchment paper as gently as you can. And it's okay if it tears a little bit. I'm gonna show you how you can fix that in just a second. That wasn't my best job, but that's okay because we're gonna take the spatula and just kind of piece it back together. And we're just gonna let this cook for a few minutes until it is golden brown and spots on the bottom. All right, so once it's brown, you're gonna use a large spatula or even 2 spatulas like I'm doing, and give it a flip. All right, we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. Just keep your eye on it until it is golden. All right, this is good. I'm gonna transfer this to a cooling rack, and then I'm gonna do the same thing with the other 3 pieces of dough. You can see how tender the flatbread is. All of those little layers tear so easily. So simple, but so good. Like I said, you can serve these with soups or like naan bread as wraps. I also love to serve it with hummus and dips, which is what I'm gonna do right now. Yes, you can be gluten-free, and yes, you can still enjoy flatbreads. I'm telling you, there's nothing like eating bread with hummus or with dal or your favorite curries. I hope that you give these gluten-free flatbreads a try. Definitely let me know if you do in the comments below. Tag me on Instagram at FromScratchFast. And as always, if you like the video, please like and subscribe. My name is Nikki Sizemore. This is From Scratch Fast, and I will see you next time.